everyone, this is Carla. Thanks for stopping by my channel, Imagine That with Carla. Today I'm going to be doing 5 home decor projects. They're going to be Christmas inspired, and I'll be using some Prima Redesign decoupage paper, the fibrous type decoupage paper, and some of their new transfers. And I'll also be using some IOD transfers as well as some IOD molds. So grab a cup of coffee, sit down, relax, and enjoy. For the first project, we're going to be framing 2 transfers from the Winter Botanist IOD 2025 holiday release. There you saw 2 green frames that I had thrifted. I'd already removed the glass in the back from those. And then I picked out these 2 from this Winter Botanist transfer pack. They're the birds that are on the branches. I thought they went well together. I kind of wanted to have like a set of pictures. And I had this very lightweight cardstock in my stash, and it has a little bit of like colored texture on the back, not anything raised. Now the frame I'm simply going to lay on top of the paper that I had cut out. I'm going to lay the transfer on top, take my transfer tool, and simply rub that on, and it comes off very well on paper. These, like I said, are the IOD transfers, and I've never had any problem getting these to transfer onto paper. And so after we have this transferred, I'm going to clean the glass that I had for the frame, and I'll go ahead and set this inside the frame with the glass and put the backing on to see how I'm going to like how this fits in there. Just bend those little picture holders, staples back over, and it looks very nice. Now those frames are the ones I had thrifted. The color I thought was good, but then I decided after I had framed that one picture that I wanted to take some Fusion aging wax and go over it a little bit to kind of make it look a little more weathered, a little more old. And I did that to both of those frames. And I had also gone ahead and taken the other picture of the bird transfer and cut it out and put it on the lightweight cardstock as well. Here I'm just rubbing back the Fusion aging wax. And after I get that finished, I decided I wanted to go around the inside of this frame with this gold metallic medium, and it's very similar to Rub and Buff. It's just in a jar. I've had this in my stash for quite some time, and so I'm just going to go around each frame to help it pop just a little bit. And after that's complete, I put both pictures back into the frame, and here is the finished product. Project number 2, I picked this up at a garage sale. It's a very heavy sign, and it's not a bad looking sign just the way it is, but I decided I wanted to do something different with it. So here I am, I'm taking raw silk and I'm painting over the top of this sign. You can still see a little bit through there, but here is where I had given it 2 coats and I let it dry. And I'm going to take one of Prima Design's fibrous decoupage papers, and it's called Christmas in the Countryside. And as you can see, this is a very thick paper. They actually call it decoupage fiber. And it's really hard to tear, so you really have to saturate this with water, and I have not actually torn any of it yet, so this was kind of a new experience for me. And as you can see, when I first tried to tear, it was not tearing, so I went back and I added some more water, and it still is very difficult to tear. You really have to be careful, because at one point when I was tearing, it tore like fabric. Instead of tearing across the way you would tear regular tissue paper or rice paper, it wanted to tear vertically, go down like if you would be tearing fabric. So I worked around that though, and it turned out fine. You just know that you're really going to have to saturate this, and it's a kind of a slow process, but you'll get through it, and it really is worth it. It's a very heavy duty, nice paper. The colors on this paper show up so richly. And so here we are. I'm going to place this on my board, but I didn't want the tree to get caught up in that crack in the wood, so I decided to move it up a little bit. And for my decoupage medium, I'm simply going to use DIY's liquid patina, and I'm going to spritz the back of this decoupage paper, and I'm giving it a pretty good coat because I really want it wet enough so it will soak in that liquid patina as my decoupage medium to hold that on securely. So here I am brushing on the liquid patina. And then I'm going to take my decoupage paper and place it the top first. And I want to leave enough room at the bottom because I do have a little caption that I want to put under there. So here I'm just smoothing it on, trying to get it down flat. Really, with this paper though, this is the second time I've used it, and I have had no issues with bubbling or wrinkles or, you know, any type of thing like that. It goes on very smooth, and you just want to make sure you get it covered very well after that. And now this is when I have let it dry, and I wanted to go back and distress it a little bit around the edges. So I'm using my little finger sander there and just going around the edges to give it that more distressed look. And after that's finished, I'm going to take this typography caption, and this was from the Christmas Joy transfer packet. And so I cut this out, and I'm going to lay it on there and just take my little transfer tool and transfer this under that wagon. That wagon just looks so Christmassy to me, country. Now I'm going to take liquid patina, and I need to seal that in. But what I'm doing here actually, before I seal that back in, where the paper had gone over the cracks in the wood, I had taken my little sharp edge, oh, what do you call those? Those little knives. I can't think right now, I'm sorry. And I cut the paper. It was totally dried. I would wait till it totally dried before I try to cut this. And then I took some fusion wax and went in those cracks so the white would not show. Here I'm taking clear wax. I'm going to go over the entire thing because I am going to take some DIY dark wax and go around the edges to give that a more weathered, aged look. Here I'm wiping back, and the clear wax helps you be able to wipe some of that back so you don't end up with it being too dark. Here I'm going back because I did want a little more just around the edges where I had to stress that with my little finger sander. Now this project was a pretty simple project. I had gone into the Dollar Tree and I was looking for popsicle sticks or something, I don't know, but I saw these in the craft section. They're like 3 glass vases, but the outside of them is kind of a rough finish on there. So I decided to take my favorite red paint this year, Highlander Fusion paint, and I painted one of them with this color. And then after that one was finished, I took English Ivy by Dixie Belle Chalk Mineral Paint, and I proceeded to paint another with this. And this paint covered really well on this, and I really, I'm not worried at all about it trying to peel off. So after we get the green one finished, then I'm taking Dusty Blue, which is also a Dixie Belle Chalk Mineral Paint. And I'm painting this one completely. And then I'm going to let these dry for just a little bit. And both of these have built-in sealers. And the Fusion paint, of course, has a built-in primer and sealer. So after these were dry, I took transfers from Prima Redesign this year. They had the most beautiful transfers called Village of Wonder. And look at these. They have so many accessories in here that go with different buildings. They have lamp posts and Christmas trees and wagon wheels and just little pieces of greenery. So here I'm taking this one and I'm attaching it to the blue one. Now I will say I have to work a little bit harder when I'm using a Prima Redesign transfer. And also when you get finished, you can see there is a slight halo around the edges. And the way I try to make that a little more invisible is I take my finger and I just kind of try to really press in to that halo going around, and it does eliminate it for the most part. Here I'm taking one that I thought coordinated with the Highlander, the Fusion paint. We're going to attach this one as well, taking that transfer tool. And like I said, I did, have to work a little harder to get this on. I think once you get past that halo section, it really goes on a lot faster. It's just something about getting that halo around the transfer to make sure that adheres really well, and then you can go over the rest of it a little more quickly. Then we're going to take the last one. We're going to do the green. So I'm attaching it the same way, trying to get that halo on. And I mean, the colors in these transfers are just so beautiful. They're just, so rich, so deep, rich colors. Now here they are with just those on there. And what I did after off camera, I decided there were so many neat things in this transfer packet. I started adding them to the back and the sides and just fill in some little spaces. And here I'm just sealing them all in with my liquid patina to make sure they're sealed. But as I show you the finished product, you might be able to see some of the other transfers that I put on there because there were so many. And like I said, the colors are so rich that I just felt like, I needed to add more to these. So once I get the sealer on, I'm going to let those dry. And then here's your finished product. For this project, I had prepped this little box before doing the video, and I will be painting the bottom. That looks kind of messy right there. And so the way I prepped it was I used a milk paint. I think it was truffle. I used the truffle milk paint, and I actually got some crackling and I got some chippiness, and so I sealed that really well. And now I'm going to take transfers from IOD, and these transfers I am taking from Santa's Hollow, and they just seem to go so well on this chippy distressed wooden box. When I started out with the box, before I prepped it, it was the same color as it is on the inside that you can see there. And so it gave it this kind of a beigey color, and it just goes perfect with these transfers. So here's Santa. I'm going to put 2 larger transfers on the front and the back, and then I'm going to take 2 holly embellishments transfers and just put one of those on each side. So look how well that goes on there, and just really goes with it. I love this little box. I might want to keep this little box. And here I found the deer. I thought this looked really nice on there. So again, we take the transfer tool. I want to move that over just a little bit. And rub that on. And that looks really nice on there too. Now I'm taking the little holly embellishment. I'm going to put it just kind of maybe a third of the way down on the side. Just lift that up a little and then continue to press that on. Then I'm going to do the same on the other side. Ooh, look at that yummy crackle there. and a little chippiness. I mean, I'm really proud of that, because I really have a hard time getting milk paint to do what other people seem to be able to get it to do, but this is good. I like this. I like this a lot. And I thought that deer needed a little something up in the corner. You can't see that here, but I did add, I think it was like a pine cone and holly up in the corner where the deer was. Now this last project was a work of love. I mean, it was time consuming. It did take a lot to get it completed, but I love it, love it, love it. I had thrifted this, oh, probably at an estate sale, and here I'm showing you epoxy, and I poured my Saint Santa mold with epoxy so I could keep some of the detail, because sometimes when you use clay you're not really able to keep the detail if you keep painting over it. This is called the winter forage, and so I'm going to be using that, making some clay castings, and then I'm going to be making a casting out of the vase mold. These are IOD molds. First we're going to kind of season that with a little cornstarch. Now these very delicate castings where you can see the vines that have the little berries on them, and also the leaves on the pine over to the left, those, you know, I just pretty much have found that when you've got something that delicate, it's going to come apart, which is not the end of the world, because you can simply lay it aside and you can piece it back together when you're laying it on your project. So here I'm going to take some Sculpey air dry clay, and I'm pushing it into the holly and the berries. My Sculpey air dry clay, I'm not sure which clay you use, but I have found it to be very, very good. I like it. It's a little softer than some of the other clay that I've used in the past. However, this one, you can see I said it will come apart, and that doesn't bother me. I kind of expect that at this point. And so we're going to just get some more cornstarch in there and put some clay into those little pine needle sprigs. And then we'll be removing those, and those are probably going to come apart too. And I went ahead and I think when I was all finished, I cast about 4 of the holly and berries and 4 of the pine sprigs. Here I'm going in with cornstarch again. I'm going to go ahead and get my bow cast with the Sculpey clay. Now what I was going to say about the clay is when I store my clay, I usually put a wet cloth inside of a baggie after I have wrapped the clay up in the original paper that it came in, or wrapping, whatever. And so sometimes when I first take it out, it's really too soft, and so I have to wait for it to kind of dry out a little bit, or it's too mushy to put into the molds. Now here I am taking these castings and I'm placing them on here to see where I might like them to be, and I can see there that I did go back and cast more of the fern and more of the holly and berries. Now I did glue my resin Santa on the night before. I glued him on with some E6000 and some Tight Bond. So what I did here was I used the Quick and Thick Tight Bond and I glued down all of my castings, and here I'm going in with Fusion Victorian lace, and I have covered the entire project with the Victorian lace fusion paint. And here I'm just showing you I have Dusty Blue Dixie Belle, the Highlander fusion, I have English Ivy, Weeping Willow, Chocolate, Palmetto, and Tea Rose Dixie Belle, and then the fusion Victorian lace. I have these all out because I'm going to attempt to do the face, and I will be honest with you, I've never tried to figure out fleshy colors before, so bear with me. I think it turned out fine, but this is a first for me. And I just started mixing some of the tea rose with a little bit of brown and kept some white out on the side, and I used that for the face, the fleshy part. And then I decided to use a little of the Highlander, and you can tell I've mixed in a little bit maybe even some of the tea rose and the brown to make it not quite so bright. And now I'm going back in trying to get some fleshy colors with a little bit of darker paint in there to give it some shadowing, just a little bit. Not that I really know what I'm doing, but that's what I'm thinking. And so I just keep doing that until I get the face to a point where I think it's going to work for me. Here again, I'm going in with shadowing. Now the eyes, I was really nervous about trying to make the eyes, but they turned out okay. You know, I'm gonna have to practice a little bit, I'm sure. I'm giving that a little bit of shadow around the eyes, and where the wrinkles are, I'm kind of putting a little bit darker in there, so it shows up in those creases. And here I've added black fusion paint to make the eyes, and here I'm using the English ivy to do the holly leaves, and I'm using the weeping willow to do the pine. I'm trying to give a little bit of blue to the eyes, and I'm using the Dusty Blue by Dixie Belle. Trying to be very careful with a little detail brush. And there I've got the face, I think, pretty much the way I want that. Now I'm going in with the Highlander Fusion, and I'm doing the hat. And then after I get the hat completed, I'm going to use the Highlander fusion paint to do the berries. You know, this would have looked really nice too, I think, if you'd just taken maybe some dark wax and just put over the whole white thing. But I wanted to kind of give it a go to try something different with me in painting these things. So I did the bow and the berries and the hat. And then I took a little bit of Paint Couture's metallic gold, and I gave a little bit of highlights to the leaves, a little bit to the berries. I'm not quite sure if I put any on the bow and the ribbon tails or not. I kind of thought I would leave those, so I may have. Now I'm taking the Fusion aging wax. I'm just going to go around the edges with this and the handle. Not too much, just a little bit. And here we are with the finished product. Tell me what you think about this one. And I did go over the beard also with the Fusion aging wax. And I wiped that back nicely. I like the way that turned out. So I hope you found something you enjoyed by watching these videos. Maybe you got a little bit of inspiration, or maybe you saw a new product that you might want to try. I have vendors in my town who sell the IOD and who sell the Dixie Belle paint and who also sells the Prima Redesign. So those things I don't have to order. But now my fusion paints and a lot of my paint coutures, I know many of you have to be familiar with Rehatched Designs by Tina Williams, and she's amazing. But that is where I get a lot of my fusion paints and paint couture things, and it gets here so quickly. I mean, I'm just amazed. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is you might want to try some new products that maybe you haven't seen. I know the Prima Redesign, the fibrous decoupage paper, that was totally new for me, and I enjoyed working with it. I mean, it's a learning process, trying to learn how to tear that very thick fibrous paper. So, as I was saying, if there was anything you like, please leave a comment in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got inspired, and I hope you will come back and visit me on my channel again. Thank you, and until next time. Bye-bye.